podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abassi. I'm a grateful, recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. And I once again just woke up from a nap. I just went out this morning to take Autumn for a walk and I got bit by mosquitoes. I am so freaking, I saw that this was a thing. I'm so allergic to mosquito bites. It's terrible. It's terrible. And I did read, because this has been happening so much over the past few years, that some people are really allergic to mosquito bites. So, if it's not true, fine. Maybe it's in my head, fine, but it's terrible. I want to like rip my freaking skin off. So I ended up taking Benadryl and took a nap. And I also have this seasonal thing that happens. If you really want to know, thanks for asking. I have this seasonal thing that happens where I get these little bubbles on my skin, and they, again, are so freaking itchy. And I once again self-diagnosed and found that there is like some kind of eczema that looks like that. So, yeah, I have been putting hydrocortisone on it, and I got some eczema lotion, and finally I just had it and I took Benadryl. And everything's fine except for this one on my ankle. So if while I'm talking you wonder, is Rachel, is there some underlying issue that's agitating you? Yes, it is the itching on my ankle. So there we have it. And so today's topic is what is it, Rachel? It's rewriting that victim story. It's throughout my life, I felt like I was the victim, that it's kind of in line with steps 4 and 5, I think, a little bit. And like changing that story, coming to believe that that I actually was at fault or blame for things. I mean, go figure. And it was all, I was blind to all of it. I really was. But the way that I started to uncover this is through the steps. But the first thing that I had to do is recognize that there is a power greater than myself, that there is something bigger than me. And that had to be introduced to me before I started looking at my role in my relationships. Because if I didn't do it in that order, I would be left with a lot of I feel like I'd be left with a lot of self-blame and self-pity with empty hands and not knowing what to do with it, not knowing what I have left over other than just a lot of self-pity and shame. So it's not an overnight thing. It was not overnight for me to start recognizing what role I played in stuff. It was, and it's still being revealed to me, honestly. I have these memory bubbles that come up in my meetings and stuff that I hadn't thought of yet in my 9 years of sobriety. And I think, oh, that was my fault. There's instances with my ex-husband where I think, I really was to blame for that. And I wasn't to blame for everything. I have to recognize that as I'm going through the process where I'm looking at the stuff that I haven't wanted to look at my whole freaking life, that there are going to be things that I am to blame. There are going to be things that I really was a victim. And some of those, when I'm dealing with a sponsee, I don't really know what to say about that other than practicing letting go. And And that can be really difficult when you don't know what else to do with it, what kind of action to take with it. But again, that's why for me, the higher power is so important, that I need something to fall on. I need something to be able to catch me when I start looking at my role in my own story and, and admitting. This morning I was reminded of the not yets in my life, meaning I got sober before I had the chance to kill somebody in a car accident. I got sober before I had the chance to lose my current relationship, to lose my kids. But that is real. Those not yets are real. I haven't gone that far yet. And I need to keep that in the forefront of my mind when I'm looking at this, my role in my life story, because my life story isn't over and it can change at any time. It can spin out of control if I let it. If I start having this illusion of control where I stop facing the truth, I stop facing the stuff that I don't want to look at, that that illusion of control can start to take over my life. And those not yets can become now if I let that happen. So I was reminded this morning also of when I was in detox and I was on a walker and I was sleeping in this terribly, terribly uncomfortable bed. It was the worst bed I've ever slept on, for sure. And yet I had this comforting feeling of being there. And I've always had this comforting feeling of being there. It was like I was on some sort of, it felt like I was on a retreat in a way. And somebody reminded me in the morning meeting that I likely felt that way because it was much more comfortable than the truth that I was in, than the truth, than looking at the truth and the reality that I was living, the drunken, just ignorance that I was living in. So it was more comfortable to sleep on that springy bed than it was to stay living, killing myself, living in that terrible place that I was living. Um, it it makes me sick to my stomach to think about what I could have done when I was drinking. I very well could have killed. I enjoyed drunk driving, unfortunately, and I absolutely could have been in a situation that would have changed my life forever. That there was no turning away from it, and I'm super grateful that that didn't happen yet. I still have to say yet because I'm not fixed. No matter how much I believe that my alcoholism is in the past, no matter how much I believe that, okay, I have gotten comfortable in this recovery. I feel like I'm not so comfortable that I'm not going to work at it, but I'm comfortable that it's become a habit and I still cannot let my guard down. I don't believe that I will ever be recovered. And I have a friend who does have an understanding of the difference between being recovered and recovering. And I appreciate anybody's self-reflection on how that process is going to work for them. For me, I have to stay in that definition of recovery. I have to keep that as an active, a healthy fear. I have to keep it like that every day because if I don't, I'm afraid of what's going to happen, and my not yets will become now. So, as I've gone through this process of working the steps and looking at my role in my own story, I went from understand a victim mentality to realizing that I was the offender in a lot of ways. And that's not to label myself or beat myself up, but to acknowledge my behavior. And if I needed to confront, confront is a scary word for a lot of people. I'm just using it because it's for lack of another word that might sound more gentle. I did need to face these people and acknowledge what I did. And it was scary, and it's still scary. I still don't like to confront, quote unquote, other people and say, "Look, I was at fault. I'm no longer innocent in my own story." And it feels good. It feels like I'm participating in my life now to be able to say, to be able to stop pointing fingers. It's actually causes me more stress now in my life to point fingers and say, well, that's his fault and there's nothing I can do about it. That stresses me out because I like to look at solutions now. I like to be able to say, all right, well, every relationship there's two sides to it. And instead of spiraling to a conclusion where there's nothing I can do about, I like to be able to say that, yeah, I don't have control over somebody else's behavior, but I certainly don't have to be a victim of somebody else's behavior anymore either. I have the choice to remove other people from my life, if nothing else. And I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday who was dealing with something similar about having to break up with a friend and remove them from one's life. And I've done it before. I have recognized that there are certain people that are not healthy for me, and I have to make the decision for myself to say, I don't want that person to be in my life. And it's it's not as stressful as it used to be to make that decision for myself. I feel like there are so many people in this world that I recognize that that person is going to be well taken care of. They can be a part of somebody else's life. It's just not working for me. Because if I don't do that, then I'm always going to have this underlying lie. I'm going to be faking, and that's so uncomfortable to fake. And today I get to live an honest life, and that just feels good. It feels good to be able to do that. So I not only have come to believe in a power greater than myself, which includes everything outside of myself, including my understanding of God, but also I have come to believe in my power to change. And I get that power through my higher power. I don't have this, I was talking about it yesterday. I don't have this strength that is extraordinary or anything. I just deal with things that are right in front of me. And I realize my role. I realize that it's my responsibility to myself to take care of things that are. I talk a lot here about physically, my physical well-being, with stroke recovery and vestibular recovery, and knowing when to pause and make a decision and say, no, that's not good for you. You know, that's my mom. The mom inside of me is talking to the disobedient version of me inside and saying, no, that's enough. You have to go inside. You're not allowed to stay outside and play anymore. But I also have that same voices telling me that you need to take responsibility for your emotions as well. And if you're going down a bad road with somebody, then you need to do something about it. You can't keep playing with this person if they are leading you to do things that are not healthy for yourself, right? I'm a human with choices now. And just because I'm not in control of people, places, and things doesn't mean that I have to be a victim. And I just make decisions that are right in front of me, and it for some reason doesn't feel terribly scary anymore. Now, I do, as I'm saying that, remember, for those of you who have been listening for a long time, do you remember the neighbor that I had? That she was an elderly neighbor with cancer, and she lived, I'm looking at her house right now as I talk. She lived in a house diagonal from me, and somehow like forced her way into my life on voting on election day, and it was like overwhelming. I couldn't say no. It was actually starting to trigger my physical symptoms, because she was just so active and wanting me to come over, and it was too much for me. And that was scary. It was scary for me to have to go over there and say, I can't be your friend. You know, I didn't say it to her. I actually knocked on the door several times and waited, because I did come to tell her I cannot continue to come over here. I can't continue to, I'm not well enough to take care of you. And that was what she was pulling me into, where I was on the phone with her insurance company and her doctors. And this was all in a matter of less than 1 week. It was just overwhelming. And it caused me a lot of stress, because she had cancer. She was dying. And she has since passed. She passed away 2 months after all of this happened. So she was very much dying. And I had to take care of myself. And it was scary. I ended up talking to her son, and that was the last time I talked to her. And who knows what her son said to her. And I don't live in regret that she passed after that. I don't feel like I did the wrong thing because she was sick. But prior to that, being sober and having stuff like that happen in my life, I believed that I was powerless, and in all the wrong ways. I believed that if somebody was in my life, I had to, like, if somebody was serving me the ball, and that I had to hit the pickleball back. I've never played pickleball before. We'll say tennis, because I've played tennis before, albeit badly, but I've played tennis before. If somebody served me the ball, I felt like I was powerless, and I had to run and chase the ball and hit it back. And as long as the person kept hitting me the ball, I had to hit it back. And today I recognize that if I don't want to play the game, I can just walk off the court. And that's what I did in her situation. And I've done it a lot, honestly. And it's just, I have to stay comfortable in my relationships. I have to, because I think that a lot of relationships can trigger my anxiety, and I don't have to deal with that. the power that I get from my program and my fellowship and my higher power and my faith, it doesn't come from trying to hit the ball back, to control how I hit the ball and make sure that I run and I keep up. It really comes from surrender. It comes from making choices about, do I have to play the game or do I not? And a lot of times I don't have to play the game. Now it's different. Like when I was working, I had to play the game. I couldn't walk off the court. And I get that. And I can appreciate those of you who have to stay in the game. But the tools of the program, and whether you are in sobriety or not, whether you are in stroke recovery or not, I believe wholeheartedly that the tools of the program that I work apply across the board to somebody who doesn't have a drinking problem, who doesn't have an addiction. This program allows me to deal with life with grace and be able to see the opportunities for growth, you see the gifts for what they are, see opportunities to strengthen relationships, and that is also with my higher power, and keep believing in myself. So I have to end with one sign that I got. So I did get a sign yesterday. Those of you know that I've been reading this book called Signs, the Secret Language of the Universe. And some of you have been playing along with me, and I appreciate it. But I have to tell you, I kind of abandoned a little bit the communication with my signs and stuff. And I thought, oh, that was fun. I need to do it. I need to actively ask for signs and do it because it's so much fun. And I don't care if you're judging me, it's fun. It's a fun way to interact with the universe. And if you don't believe, it's a good game to play. If nothing else, it's a good driving game. Okay. So this is what happened yesterday. I was walking Autumn, and it was right before dinner time, and I walked. So I have an elementary school right beside my house, and I like to walk her over there and let her off the leash, and she runs around. So I had just turned the corner to get onto the school property, and I thought, okay, let's do the signs. Why not? Let's do the signs. So my friend John, who passed away in a motorcycle accident, I don't even know if I said his name yet. So I get to say his name because he has passed. So he died in a motorcycle accident when I just graduated from high school. And I've been devastated my whole life until I got sober. I finally got to grieve that loss. Well, this is the sign that I had been asking for. This was the first sign that I asked for was from him. And the next day I got a sign, and then I asked for another sign. I got a sign, and what I believe is a sign. And so yesterday I thought, okay, John, you are amazing at sending me signs. You're like, definitely, as this lady would say in the book, you're a part of my team of light for sure. Because whenever I ask for a sign, I get one. Okay. So I walk onto the school property and I'm like, okay, John, let's do it. You're the best person to send me signs. You do it almost immediately. You send me a sign. So let's do it again. But I'm not going to ask you for the specific sign. I want you to send me a sign, and I want to be able to recognize that it's you. Okay? 5 minutes later, I'm not shitting you. 5 minutes later, I walked the path around the school, and there was a motorcycle sitting by itself at the playground. I'm not kidding you. I'm not kidding you. And I was like, okay. I mean, you did it again, like right away. You did it again. So I kept walking, and I finally did see the kids that the motorcycle and the bicycle belong to. And I'm pretty sure that the motorcycle, quote unquote, was actually an e-bike, but it was big tires. Like it looked like a motorcycle, like no doubt looked like a motorcycle. So I'm not making it up. And there you have it. I mean, I'm telling you, the whole sign thing is super fun. And when I get to do it with my friend John, they just like they come right away. They come right away. So, and I'm still working on my grandparents. As you recall, I asked for two bluebirds and I got one bluebird both times that I asked for it. And so I had talked to my psychiatrist last week or the week before, it doesn't matter. And she said that her grandparents come as brown doves. Okay. And I'm like, all right, well, maybe you telling me that is supposed to be telling me that mine should be brown doves instead. The problem is that to me, a brown dove looks like a what are those birds that are always on the boardwalk that are annoying and they eat all the food? And they fly away and they're like blah, 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 blah. I can't remember. You know what I'm talking about. They look like that. So anyway, yesterday I was like, all right, well, I'm still working with you, Grammy and Grandpa, but you're not doing the blue birds thing. And then right then there were two brown doves that flew out of a bush and into my path, and they landed, and then they flew away again. So I don't know what's happening with them, but I said thank you anyway. So there's my sign stories, and I love it. I encourage you to keep trying to do it too. So that's what I've got for you today. Thank you for waking me up, and I will talk to you tomorrow.